I have to work out. Like I have to get my energy out so I can be a normal human. And like I do my best thinking or my best, like I listen to audiobooks. If I'm not running with a friend, I run 5 miles a day or 3 and then I lift. But if I'm not with a friend, I listen to audiobooks or podcasts at 2x because but I'm getting all the nervous energy out and I'm actually able to focus and think and all that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mick Unplugged. And today, I have a story of connection. He is the mastermind behind Impact Branding. He is the go-to storyteller for legends, and he is also a 22-time Emmy Award-winning director who's turned ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. From boardrooms to backstages to bourbon, he's built empires through narrative. Please join me in welcoming the bold, the brilliant, the boundary-breaking, my guy, Mr. Nick Nanton. Nick, how you doing today, brother?
Oh man, I hope I can live up to all that, man. I'm doing great. It's good to see you, man. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Dude, I am the excited one. And I think we just need to tell the story of how we connected, man. Like, most outrageous connection possible. We're on an early bird, 5:30 in the morning from Vegas to Dallas, Texas flight. There's weather in Dallas, so we get rerouted to Austin, Texas. But what the people don't know is this. I sit down in my seat, Nick sits next to me and puts on his eye shades or the eye blinders and passes out. So there's no conversation, right? Nick wakes up and I have to inform him, hey, bro, we're not going to be in Dallas. We're going to Austin.
I remember, yeah, because I'm like a narcoleptic on planes. I can't stay awake. And so I remember hearing like, please put your seats up. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And then we're landing in Austin. I remember turning to you like, is that a joke? Is that one of those like, welcome to Jamaica, New York that they usually do, right? I'm like, is that a joke? Because we're supposed to be going to Dallas. She's like, no, there's like weather. I'm like, oh, all right. And I was like, well, that sort of sucks, but okay. And then we hit the tarmac and for way longer than any of us expected.
Yeah, 3 hours sitting there, but I didn't know I'd find my future best friend, man. Like, we had some amazing conversations, realized we had some folks in similar circles, and literally got to know each other, man. And so the power of connection, the power of conversation, but I think more importantly, just the power of networking, because had we not talked about our mutual circles, it probably would have been like, hey, I'm Mick. Hey, I'm Nick. Nice to meet you and move forward, right?
Absolutely. Well, and that is, my whole thing is like, like I said, I just fall asleep on planes. But I also, what I don't like about certain settings is I'm not ever looking for a shallow conversation, right? I'm looking for deep connections. And usually, I value the people beside me. They're working or they're sleeping or they're doing their thing. So I typically I have great relationships in my life, but I typically don't say more than hello, goodbye to the person next to me on an airplane flight, just because, I don't need to do more than that. Right. Yeah. And let them do their thing. But it was funny because I remember when you informed me of this and, we decided that there wasn't a whole lot more to do because they also rerouted another 300 planes into Austin. Sorry. And so people were losing their minds. Right.
Yeah.
And it is frustrating when you plan to get somewhere, but like they can't affect tornadoes. And so there was actually so many planes, we couldn't even go anywhere to get off the plane. And I remember them saying, well, you could get off the plane, but you can't get back on the plane. And wherever your luggage goes, like, we're out. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like the best customer support, but okay, I'll roll with it. I was thankful. I only had a dinner to get to and we had seemingly hours. I was late to the dinner, but I got there. And then I remember, so there wasn't a whole lot to do, but maybe have a couple cocktails. And I heard you order a Woodford Reserve, which is a beautiful bourbon. And I said, hey, we got to keep this on the DL. But I got some bourbon that I think you might really enjoy because I founded The Difference, which is a bourbon with Chris Voss. His book is Never Split the Difference. Some of you might have seen it on Masterclass. And so it was my dumb idea. We should start a bourbon called The Difference because you never split it. And so I have these little airplane bottles that you can travel with. They're actually liquid bottles. You can put anything legal in them and you don't have to check it. They're all small and they're a little rubber coated. They're very cool. And so I happen to have some with me. So I think at some point the flight attendant didn't care because I think they were running out of alcohol. So, and we were there for so long, but it was fun to let you try some of it. Since then, it's won 6 gold medals, which is pretty exciting. So I knew we were onto something. I knew it tasted good, but I'm more of a red wine guy than a bourbon guy. I'm learning. But yeah, man, it was fun to just be able to sit there. And of course, yeah, we know like 100 of the same people, which is fun too.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is Nick told the real story. I wasn't going to go into, hey, we were drinking the difference on the plane. You know, both of us are going to have to go through extra security the next time we go.
I'm not saying what airline.
Right. But what was crazy, so Nick's exactly right. We were stuck for 3 hours. The only way to get off the plane was to stay off the plane. And even if you elected to get off the plane, because they only had so many buses or vans, it was taking like 45 minutes to an hour once you said you wanted off the plane. I'm not going to say that I saw people faking emergencies so that the EMT could come get them, but I saw some people that all of a sudden were not feeling well.
There was some of that. And then there were some guys like 6 guys got off and said they were going to drive to New York.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know if they're YouTubers or what. I mean, they're pretty funny, but I was like, man, that's a wild trip. Okay, good luck.
Yeah. I would wait 4 or 5 hours before I decided to drive from Austin, Texas to New York City. Yeah.
Amen to that. Yeah. Amen.
So, Nick, so much I want to get into. Let's just go straight to the difference. Literally, and everyone knows I'm a bourbon connoisseur. The best bourbon I have ever tasted in my life is the difference. And it's not just me saying it because it's a newly released, not even to the public, and you've already won 6 gold medals. So it's not just me saying it. The world is also saying it. The difference is the best bourbon that is on the market today.
Well, thank you. I love that, man. Yeah, that was a fun story. So I met Chris Voss through some mutual friends, my friends Joe Polish and Dan Sullivan. And I don't name drop. I just like to give credit where credit's due. So you'll hear me say names because if I learn something from somebody, I want you to know who they are. Same. And so I met Chris, and I remember Joe said, hey, you want to come sit down with us? It was at the end of an event with Dan Sullivan. I was like, sure. And Joe actually runs an entire organization for addiction recovery. So Joe does not drink, which is a good thing for everybody. Yeah. And Chris ordered a bourbon, 4 roses. I ordered a glass of red wine, and we started chatting, whatever. Like a week later, I went to Iraq to do an anti-human trafficking film that I was working on. And COVID broke out when I was in Iraq. And we decided we didn't want to get stranded there. So we bailed out, went to the airport, went home. And then very shortly after that, the entire U.S. was shut down. And I remember asking myself, like, well, I'm grounded for a little bit. I mean, it was really a sweet time with my family, which was great. Yeah. You know, I had 3 kids all at home at the time. And, but I just started thinking, like, what can I do to actually provide value to my community, whoever that is, whether it's parents at my kids' school or kids that are stuck at home and everyone's anxious, like, what can I do? I have a good friend named Dr. Nito Cobain. He's the president of High Point University. He taught me what I call Dr. Cobain's rule of thirds. He said, Nick, a life lived 1/3 earning, 1/3 learning, 1/3 serving is a life well lived. And I'm like, oh, I like that. Right. Yeah. So that's wisdom right there. That's wisdom. So I was like, okay. Right. So even though my life is, no one knew what life was going to be. Right. I mean, we all remember that. You will never forget where you're at when the world shut down. Right.
Yep.
So I was trying to figure out every day a little bit more, like, what is earning going to look like in my future and soon? What could I be learning? Because when you're learning, I thought I hated learning, by the way, because they used to make me sit in a desk for 8 hours a day and learn. Now I've realized I love learning because I only learn now speaking to the best in the world about everything. Yeah. And when you are learning, or I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, like, man, it allows your mind to stay positive and be focused on opportunity and hope if you're listening to the right things. And so I was like, okay, what can I be learning? I need to keep my chops up. And then how can I be serving? And some days serving would just be like, I put my parents on the very first Zoom call because they'd just gotten back from a trip and they were quarantined for 14 days and they want to see their grandkids. And so it doesn't have to be fly to India and feed a bunch of people. Not that's a bad idea, but like, what does serving look like? And it was a really cool time for me to realize, like, all the things I love doing out in the world daily, I can just do here and I can really help a lot of people. So I decided, how can I serve my community? You know what? I know a lot of pretty interesting people. I'm going to host like a live stream once a week, whatever it was, and whenever I could get them. And I had 2 astronauts on one time. I let a bunch of kids ask them questions. Of course, they all want to know, how do you poop in space? You know, stuff like that. And then I would, I just had a bunch of my celebrity friends on, and I was like, I'd really like to have Chris Voss on. It'd probably be a good idea. He's a big deal, but I didn't want to read his book because I read like so many bad negotiation books. Well, I read like half of so many bad negotiation books in law school. I never want to read another one again. I'm like, all right, I'll listen to it. And I was blown away. And I tell Chris now, this is like one of my top 10 books ever. Like that book is so well written, and it's just so good. So I had Chris on my podcast. We had a great time. And then I pitched him not long after, like, hey man, you should let me do your documentary. He's like, all right, let's talk about it. So I ended up doing Chris's documentary. And I remember being around the country, DC, New York City, LA, wherever we were. And at the end of a shoot day, Chris and I'd have a nice dinner. Chris would get a bourbon. I get a red wine. So eventually my dumb brain spits out, Chris, we should start a bourbon. We should call it The Difference. Do you get it? He's like, yeah, we should. And so that to me was permission. And then I went and bird dogged the rest, was introduced to our partner, Roy Milner, who's sort of a sorcerer when it comes to spirits. We're able to acquire our first barrels that you've now tried. And so that was really fun. And, I've never done anything in consumer packaged goods. So it's like a really fun way to like express your creativity in something that you can consume, you can hold it, the bottles, all that stuff. It was a fun journey.
So I'm so intrigued, Nick. You told me this obviously when we were on the plane for 200 hours, but it really started to sink in. And I said, I'm going to wait and ask him this, not in a phone call, not in a text, but on the podcast, so I can see the true reaction. How does one just say, yeah, we should start a bourbon? Not, we should think about it. Do you know any connections? No, let's go do it. Like, how did that in that split second just come to your mind? But then more importantly, for the viewers and listeners, what was that process like to actually start it?
Yeah, so I have been really blessed with being so bad at so many things that I have learned that, like, if you can build a world-class team, you can pretty much accomplish anything you want. Yeah. And so my idea muscle has gotten strong. I had a guy who used to work for me, and he got into a role where he was like pitching me all these ideas. And I was trying to explain to him, trying to help him have better ideas in a way. And I said, and they weren't bad ideas, but like monetizable ideas. And I had to make a distinction that I had never thought of. I said, you know what? I love the fact you have these ideas, but I've realized that I have, 30 something years of experience, because I started my first businesses when I was, entrepreneurial kid in the neighborhood, whatever, of monetizing ideas, which is very different than having ideas. And so I've been blessed with, through immigrant parents and everything, where we struggled when I was growing up with financially. So I had to learn certain things, and I had to make money. And I had to struggle and learn these things. And I learned a lot of times what I was really bad at, but I learned how to monetize ideas, and I learned to do it. I can do it. I can execute on anything in a world-class way if I have a world-class team. And so I didn't think it would be hard to build a world-class team. I hadn't done it in bourbon, but my idea muscle is so strong now, for better or for worse. Like, I'm now at this place where, like, oh yeah, that's not a problem. Let me just go find the right team. I knew I had a team of great designers. I've had people trying to invest money with me for over a decade, and I would never take their money. I would, like with my documentaries, I only take contributions. Right. Like, I guarantee you no return, because I don't want you. Documentaries usually are not profitable. And I don't want you, I just tell people, I sell great steak dinners, not poker matches. Like, you know exactly what you're getting, and I'm going to do my best to over deliver, but there's none of this like, oh, I don't know, like just that, like, I spend a ton of money on great food and booze. I don't like losing money at the craps table. I just don't, or whatever. Right. So I try to demonetize it. And so I finally, when I had this idea, I actually called a couple friends of mine. I knew my buddies own a company called Blue Delta Jeans. They make custom jeans for like everybody, right? And they've been very good to me. And I knew they worked with some people in the bourbon industry. And so I called my friend Nick Weaver there, and he told me, he's like, man, I love Chris Voss and I love bourbon. Let's do something with this. I'm like, all right. And so originally I thought we were just going to host like a 2-day seminar in Kentucky, and we're going to bottle some custom bourbon, and everyone's going to take a case home or whatever. And we're going to charge whatever for the 2 days with Chris and whatever. Everyone goes home. And then my buddy he's super busy. He owns like a mattress company, the jean company. They do FEMA cleanups. Like he's just like a straight up entrepreneur. First time I met with him and his business partner, Josh, took me to a barbecue joint and a bait shop in Mississippi. It was like, all right, these dudes they're awesome. So I got restless. So I started talking to some other people I knew and like, oh no, it doesn't work that way. Like you can't just go get bourbon. Like you could get like a barrel pick, which means you like taste a barrel. You like this barrel better than the other one. Great. And they put like, let's say it's Four Roses. They put a little sticker on the side of it that says, Nick and Chris's barrel. I'm like, well, that's not what I want to do. And so kept bugging my buddy Nick. And he's like, dude, I'm too busy, but let me introduce you to my friend, Roy Milner. Roy built one of the top 100 breweries in America at Blackberry Farm in Tennessee. And he owns a bourbon brand. And Roy and I talked on the phone for maybe 8 minutes before we had like 14 different connections that were mutual. And we both had trust from this other guy. And he says, why don't you and Chris just meet me in Louisville in Kentucky? I'll take you around some distilleries and I'll show you what I think we can do. So great. So within a month we were there. And then by the end of that trip, I'm like, Chris, I don't think I want to just bring some people in for like an event. I think I want to, like, why don't we start a bourbon together and let our friends play too? He's like, I was thinking the same thing. So I was like, Roy, can we do that? He's like, yeah, we could absolutely do that. I got the right partners, whatever. And so that's what we decided to do. I did it pretty uniquely, and I maybe this will be helpful to people listening. The only reason I'll share the deal structure. I invited my investors in. I said, I'm taking 25 investors, and it's $120,000 each. Yep. But it's $30,000 a year for 4 years. So that, because I don't need it all now. And I told them, I'm like, think of it like a mastermind. Think of it like a mastermind like that. You might make some money back, but I can guarantee you a great experience. So first of all, if you don't want to learn about, like, I don't know that much about bourbon, but if you don't want to learn about bourbon and you don't drink, you're not invited because you're in it for all the wrong reasons. And if you are interested in that, then why don't you come join me on this journey? We're going to learn a ton. You're going to get a lot of bourbon. You're going to own a bourbon with Chris Voss. And I said, if you can't make more than your investment back annually by saying you own a bourbon with Chris Voss, don't do this. So I told him all the reasons not to do it. And then everyone's like, take my money. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now I got to get everything drawn up. And so we held a dinner in Nashville. I think I had 18 people. I think I got my first 15 investors from that 18. And then I went to some other friends and we closed it out very quickly. And we're about a year in. And showing some great promise. We also trademarked business bourbon. It's the first spirit in the world to celebrate the art of fair dealing instead of just partying. We decided we did not want to go retail with it because retail is very difficult. You can't outspend the Pappies of the world, the Buffalo Traces of the world. I mean, name it, right? And so we just decided we were going to do something different where we have a thing called the Shareholder Society. So, and again, this is no pitch. It's just I'm sharing how my brain works. It's the difference. Never split, always share is our slogan. And so if you want to hold your share of our bourbon, you have to join the Shareholder Society. And so it's an invite-only community for entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and investors. We meet up twice a year in different locations, usually at least once a year in Kentucky, and you get quarterly allotments of bourbon shipped to your house. We have full-size bottles, and then we have what we call shareables, so you can share it with your friends and business acquaintances. And it's been, the community is incredible because we set the boundaries, right? We said, this is why you would fit, this is why you wouldn't, and we have a no a-hole rule. So that gets rid of a lot of people quick. And it's just been amazing the amount of deals that are starting to get done in those rooms and the amount of friendships that are being created. So that's the story of the difference. And hopefully it helps people see that there is, number one, money is the cheapest commodity in the world. It is worth what it is worth. I often promise people ROE, return on experience, because I can promise that. I cannot promise ROI. I don't know what's going to happen in the world, but if I can create an experience, my goal would be that you do this only for the experience. And if you got money back, it would just be gravy. And everyone's like, yeah. And we have the right people involved. We have some really cool, some heroes of mine who actually invested, which has been really fun. So, I would just encourage people to think in a way that, like, if I was offering it the way everyone else offered it, I would be competing. My friend Sally Hogshead, great author, says different is better than better. Like being better is almost impossible, but being different is pretty easy. So in whatever it is you're doing in your business, in your life, reframe to what would make me different. This is a different by name. It's a different offering. It allows people to join a community, get to know Chris, get to know, and to learn about bourbon together, and to socialize, to network, and do business together.
Well, I am looking forward to my first experience. Again, it is literally the best bourbon I have tasted, and I consider myself a connoisseur. I told you that on the plane, man. And
well, the new release, dude. The new release is my mind is blown. It's a bottle and bond release, and it's I'll get you some before I see it.
All right, I'm excited about that too. So let's change gears a little bit. You talk about experience, which is going to segue to 22-time Emmy Award winner, bro. Like when you told me that on the plane, you didn't say it like you were bragging, right? It was more like I looked it up and I was like, wait, that's you? And then you started talking to me about what you do in film. 22 times to win the Emmy, bro. Like, we're not even talking about the nominations, but to win. That means that people appreciate the experience that you're able to deliver through storytelling, which is freaking hard. And it's harder now that we have cell phones that, the average person is trying to get into that business. Not saying it's right, wrong, and different, but sure. You have more competition now than you have ever had. And you still are a 22-time Emmy Award-winning guy. When did you know that was a passion that you had?
So it's funny. I never intended to get into making documentaries or film. Like I just didn't. I mean, I did some stuff in, elementary, middle school with like projects, like the stuff that they make you do. And I thought it was fun. I didn't do TV production or anything in high school. In college, I managed some bands. I ended up, I don't recommend this to everyone, but I took out some extra student loans, bought some video equipment, and filmed some music videos, and even made a mockumentary for one of my bands. It actually ended up getting me my business partner to invest with me. He's 30 years older than me at the time. So like it worked out, but I used it as a tool. And I never, until I did a bunch of podcasts during COVID, I never would have considered myself a storyteller. Although I've been a songwriter since the age of 15, 16, and I'm currently ranked in the top 5% of songwriters in the world. I just didn't ever internalize it as I'm a storyteller. And so it's wild because I played guitar since I was 6 and I've been songwriting forever. And the way I got into documentaries is funny because I was coming back from, I don't remember, my 4th or 5th Grammys, whatever it was. I was a Grammy voter for years, and I was like, man, I still haven't gotten any nominations. This is not going well. And so, I also knew that awards can really, help a career. And so I literally on the plane, I was thinking like, I wonder what other awards I could win. And I literally Googled how to win an Emmy and I followed the directions. And it said things like, by the way, the only reason I was able to get into filmmaking was because technology was moving forward. Like the very first 5 Emmys I won were shot on Canon DSLR cameras. They're the first, Canon 5D Mark II that allowed beautiful, low f-stop, just beautiful footage from like a $5,000 camera. I think it was maybe $2,500. It wasn't that much. Yeah. And so it made it accessible to me. So I'm not mad at, as you say, a new technology. It just allows more people in the game, but allowed me in the game. So it said, look, everyone has access to great equipment now. Everyone had, at least iMovie, if not Final Cut Pro, nonlinear editing, digital cameras. So it really comes down to, you got to execute well and you got to have a great story. So I'm like, So then I just started my brain subconsciously looking for story. And then I found my first story, made it, got 2 Emmy nominations, and then won my first Emmy. But the wildest part about that was that I got nominated for the documentary and I got nominated for directing. And the story is about a little boy who is 5 years old, 3rd kid in the family. His older brother played baseball. Older sister played softball, and it's his turn. His name's Jacob, and it was Jacob's turn to play, but Jacob had Down syndrome, and his parents were really worried about how the community was going to receive him. And then, of course, the story is it will make you bawl your eyes out, but it's a short 7-minute story. And when we lost for the documentary, I'm like, first of all, I was like, there ain't no way if that doesn't win, I quit. Like, this is like the most heartwarming, like whatever. And then and if I don't win that, there's no way I'm going to win for directing.
Yeah.
And I won for directing. And what I learned from that, a couple things. Number one, when you're submitting for awards, submit as many as you possibly can, because you never know which one you're going to have the luck. Because I've had so many Emmys that I thought, like, dude, this is the best thing I've ever made. There's no way this isn't going to get recognized, and it doesn't. And then I've had stuff like, dude, there's this stuff I'm up against is way better, and you win, right? So as many as possible. The other thing that most people don't ever, awards sort of have this shroud of secrecy around them, but the awards organizations, for the most part, they have people whose job is to make sure they run well, which means you need to know how to be a good applicant, right? Or a good nominee. And so you can call your industry awards, and 99% of the time they will help you. They can't help you win, but they can help you. Because I realized songwriting, like, half the time later on in life, I realized I was losing songwriting competitions because I was classifying something as a ballad that they thought was a mid-tempo or like whatever, right? So even as like, hey, which category should I enter in? They'll be like, oh, you should enter in this category. Oh, and you could also enter in this category. It's like, oh, so like, hopefully that helps people, ask questions of award bodies and submit as many as you can, because you never know which one it is. Because if I had only entered the one, I may have never made another documentary again. Now, not that I should only be making them for awards. That's not what I'm saying. But I might have been like so intimidated, like I'm never going to make it in this field. I might have moved on, but I entered two and I ended up winning one. And it's sort of, my business partner was like, you should do more of that. And so, 90 docs later, we've done a few.
Dude, it's so crazy, but you're exactly right about the award houses and the places, because I've had different entities reach out to me recently that's like, hey, you should apply for this award in podcasting. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, not going to say you're going to win, but you definitely want to be nominated. And here's what you need to do. And oh, by the way, here are 3 of the categories that you're a natural fit for, without me having to research or think, other than making sure that it was a legit company. Right. But you're so right. They actually do want to help you because it helps them. It truly helps them.
And then even if it's a nonprofit, it is their business. They're in the business of awards, and that's okay. I mean, that has changed my life in many ways. And so I highly encourage, look, would you rather work with a team or an award-winning team? Clearly an award-winning team. I get conversations that, I get a shortcut to having conversations that often I wouldn't get, because whoever introduces me says, hey, this is my friend Nick. He's won 22 Emmys. And all of a sudden, they're not asking, is this a conversation I should have? I don't get every conversation, but they're like, oh, okay. But it's just such an easy way. Yeah. So anyway, I highly encourage people to look for the things. Don't let it define your self-worth. That's really important. Yep. Do not let the wins and losses define your self-worth, because that's a whole other monster. However, I would encourage you to find as many things as you can that can help you just start stacking that resume, because at some point the resume gets good enough, you get a seat at the table that you knew you were destined for. Mm-hmm. But if you don't put in the work to get some of those, and there's other ways besides awards, of course, but that's one of the ways to build credibility that can really help you get a seat at the table where you can have the most impact. Of course, you could do all of these things just for narcissism and ego and all that stuff too. I can't stop you from doing that. It's not what I'm recommending, but it does work very well to open doors for you when you get those type of credentials.
Oh, absolutely. Because as you start to elevate yourself and your brand, and we'll talk about branding in a moment, there are entities that research that, right? And so they're going to want to see the credentials that are behind you, not the credentials that you can go create yourself, but what has the industry said about you. And so having award winning just helps, right? Like, it helps validate without you having to tell your own story, which I want to segue to, Nick. One of the best people in the branding game that I know is Nick Nanton.
Thank you.
How important is it for businesses and individuals to truly focus on brand awareness first?
So branding is a really interesting topic because you can find 1,000 different people who will tell you 1,000 different things and charge you 1,000 different prices for branding, right?
Right.
So I try to first break it down and just say, look, here's my definition of branding. To me, a brand is just a story. Your brand is your story. A great brand is a story that other people tell before you walk in the room, right? And so I think that's everything. That's how you connect with people. That's how you network. That's how you grow relationships. Look, when you and I were on the plane and you mentioned who you work with, and I said, oh, I know that person. I texted them. They texted right back. It's like all of a sudden we're like, okay, we both know everyone's playing on the same field,
Right.
And so
Right.
it's just simple things like that. So I think it's massively important um, to have a brand that's so good other people want to talk about it for you. I learned it probably first in music, that if you don't articulate your brand for someone, they will articulate it for you the wrong way. So
Yes.
you drink. I would have bands who would be like, I don't know, they're a cross between Blink 182 and U2. And they'd be like, we don't like comparisons like that. I'm like, okay. So when your best friend grandma wants to tell her other grandkid or her friend, Dottie's grandson about your band, what do you want her to say? Like, you want her to decide what you sound like? Like, no. And so it's all about creating a story that's obviously true and believable, that others can latch onto, and they can become a part of it, and then they want to share it for you. So, I think when you do that, it allows you to go way further because you're traveling in circles that you don't even have to travel to, right? I mean, you've obviously achieved massive success in many things, and speaking, podcasting. It's pretty fun when you reach a level of significance in people's lives that the invitations you get are pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, and that means, and it because when you walk into a room now, they've been sharing your brand before you got there by the way that people greet you, right? Whether it's the event organizer or the person hosting the party or whatever it is. And so I think you owe it to yourself to have the most amount of impact. If you want to be able to have that, you have to build a great brand, and it's not hard. I mean, you don't. I love look and feel. You can see by the difference. I mean, I think packaging, luxury feel. I love all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that's not as important as your brand is just your story. And if you don't know where to start at the beginning. Like, where did you come from? What made you who you are today? What were the pitfalls, and where were the areas you realized, oh man, I love this, and I could make a difference doing this. Where are the points where, what are the things that you could share with me that would help me realize that you are the most suited person in the world to help me with what I'm dealing with right now? And all that honestly comes from the life experiences you've had and the gifts you've been given. And the funniest part about that is most of us undervalue our greatest gifts because they came easy, and most of us undervalue our life experience because we experienced it. It's not that big of a deal. And so no one knows where to start. Start at the beginning, and you will learn when you start sharing your story. There will be parts that people will lean into. I had a lady tell me, I don't have a story worth sharing. I'm like, what? And I ended up telling her story, and she lived in China. Earthquake hit. Her family lived on the streets of China for 3 years in a tent village. I'm like, and now she's a successful financial advisor in America. I'm like, you think now, unfortunately, now everyone else looks at her story and go, oh, I don't have a story like that. You can't tell my story. I don't. So it's like, it's all this imposter syndrome comparison stuff. The best thing that happened in your life is the best thing that happened in your life, and the worst thing that happened in your life is the worst thing that happened in your life. Those are stakes. We can use those two ends of tension to create anything you want to help people feel who you are and how you can help them. So there's a couple things on that.
I love it. Nick, I could talk to you forever, right? But I don't want to end this call without me giving you your flowers, bro. So I'm an energy person, right? I feel like we bonded for a specific reason. And it wasn't over the bourbon, which is amazing. It wasn't over the 22 Emmys, which is freaking wild. What bonded me to you was that above all else, you're a husband and a father. And I think those are the two things that you hold above anything else. So I wanted to tell you that, man. Like,
thank you.
I appreciate that part of you because that's how I feel about life. And so I love being a husband. I love being a father. And I love inspiring those around me to achieve whatever level of success that means for them. And that's why I was drawn to you, man. So like, one, I wanted to thank you. Two, I want you to tell the world why that's important to you. Husband, fatherhood, and friendship.
Oh man, well, thank you. I love that. I'm honored by that. So, look, I go out and do crazy things in the world others would consider crazy. Start a Bourbon, make a documentary on anti-trafficking, do whatever.
Yeah.
And the best part of it, I would say, is that my kids now, by the way, I have a 20-year-old son in college, a 17-year-old just about to start his senior year of high school, and a daughter's going to turn 14 next month. It's about to go into 8th grade. And so still in the thick of it and loving it. But the coolest part about it is as long as I don't do something that would embarrass my family or, be unfaithful or steal from someone or cheat in the world or whatever, like my kids practically could give a damn what I'm doing in the world. Like they think it's sort of fun or neat or whatever. And for most of their life, they didn't even really know.
Yeah.
And like, cause how do you explain what an entrepreneur does? Like it's tough.
Yeah.
And so I actually remember when my first son was being tested for kindergarten, I went in for the test, and one of the questions I asked him is, what does your dad do? And he couldn't answer it. So the second one I forgot and he couldn't answer it. So by the third one, I thought I had it worked out. And my wife actually ended up asking as we were walking out the door to my daughter, hey, what are you going to say when they ask you what daddy does? And she turns around, she smiles, and she goes, he cuts deals and makes it rain cash. She's like, no. I was like, I figured I was going to get her on that. I was going to give her an answer.
Yeah.
But anyway, as long as I act with dignity in the world, they could really care less if a business deal doesn't work out the way I think it's going to work out. And for me, I've been married 23 years in July. And so my baseline is what I love about my family is that my floor is right here. Like it doesn't get any lower than that. Like it's just here. So I can go out and I can take a risk, a business risk, and it doesn't work out and they don't care. Like because I've intentionally spent enough time with them, building relationships with them, and being present. That not that I don't struggle with all those things with my phone around, and I limit my travel dates, and it's intentional. It has to be. And if it weren't for my wife, I probably wouldn't have been as intentional. She helped me to be more intentional. But I have great relationships, and they're my favorite people in the world. Which when you pour enough into your family, and they're able to pour back into you, that's what gives me energy and allows me to thrive in the world outside because I'm not basing my self-worth on the circumstances of the world. Things get me down, things frustrate me. It's by far is not all sunshine and lollipops, but my baseline is covered because I've poured into them and they're there for me. And that's what makes the rest of it just fun.
I love it, brother. I love it. All right, Nick, I'm going to get you out of here on my quick 5. You ready?
All
Rapid fire. All right. Your favorite documentary that you've directed?
It's always the next one. But I would say one that I think is really unique is The Truth About Reading. It talks about how since we've started measuring reading in America for 60 years, whatever, we've never passed 40% proficiency, and we still aren't. And so we're one of the richest countries in the world, and there are solutions. And most importantly, the way most people are taught to read is not helpful for more than about 40% of people. So if there's an adult and by the way, once you get past like 3rd grade, you don't talk about it anymore. You just start acting out. You start pretending. I interviewed a guy who was a high school teacher for 17 years in California, did not know how to read. I interviewed a surgeon who passed his medical exam without knowing how to read. He just knew how to memorize words. And he failed his first surgery boards because he didn't know how to read. So he had to learn how to read to pass his surgery boards. Meantime, he's been practicing medicine, been doing surgery, so like it's a secret that is really painful to people. So if anyone is listening to this and is struggling, know that there are solutions. It's not you. It's not your broken brain. It's the system and the way they teach you how to read. And there are solutions. Or if you have a kid or a family member or someone who's struggling to read, check that out because that can really help people get out of this cycle of shame.
I love it. I love it. Question 2, what's your dream collaboration?
Oh, my dream collaboration.
Aside from me.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's my dream collaboration would be. I have many, but I'll just put this one out there. I want to do Jackie Chan's life story. I want to do his documentary. I've read his book. I've, met him once. We got an award together. His life story is just, he's such an icon. He's such a good human.
Yeah.
I would put, from what I know of them right now too, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be up there. Mark Wahlberg would be up there. I just interviewed Dolly Parton. Her story's already been told, or she's like my number one. I'll put it out there right now, Jackie Chan.
All right. I'll call Chris Tucker, see if he's got some pull for you.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
So speaking of books, what's a book that changed your life?
The Gap and the Gain, Dan Sullivan. Love that book. Yep. Just really talks about, it just make you feel better about who you really are and who you're meant to be.
There it is. You're a musician. First concert you ever went to?
First concert I ever went to, They Might Be Giants.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Sheryl Crow, who opened for Blues Traveler, was my second.
Okay. Good stuff. What's one daily habit that fuels your connectivity?
Daily habit fuels my connectivity. I have to work out. Like, I have to get my energy out so I can be a normal human. And I do my best thinking, or my best, I listen to audiobooks. If I'm not running with a friend, I run 5 miles a day or 3, and then I lift. But if I'm not with a friend, I listen to audiobooks or podcasts at 2x, but I'm getting all the nervous energy out, and I'm actually able to focus and think and all that. So for me, I just feel so much better when I'm able to start my day that way. It doesn't happen every day. Things get in the way sometimes, early flights, but just moving and expressing energy and being able to think clearly, that really helps me. And then I guess I would absolutely say too, talking to my wife and all my kids every day too is another massive one. Cause again, it allows me to keep that floor. And people don't, well, sometimes people break apart very quickly, for known reasons, but a lot of times people drift apart, and it happens unknowingly and unintentionally. So make sure you're intentionally nurturing the people around you care about the most, because if not, you will wake up one day and you'll find you're not quite as close as you thought.
Love that, brother. Nick, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate the man and example that you are to many. And I just appreciate your creativity, brother. So honored to have you on. Can't wait to do it again. Where can people find and follow you?
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for all the kind words. At Nick Nanton on Instagram, or all the things more or less. Thankfully, there's not a lot of people with my name. Or nicknanton.com, you can go there as well. So I got a new book coming out here, hopefully soon. I'll keep you in the loop on that. And yeah, man, it's an honor to be on the show. I'm so glad we connected, and can't wait to see you in Chicago in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir. And for all the viewers and listeners, remember, your because is your superpower. Go unleash it.